Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're watching from. And welcome back to Congress for Global Communications, where we exist to promote diverse and inclusive dialogue resulting in civility for all. Now, my co host for today is none other than Dr. Phineas Canethia, and he is my 2.6 pound friend, and he is an absolutely amazing man of God. But before I bring him out, I'm going to ask that you do three things for me. One, if you can put in the feed where you're watching from, this will allow us to know which countries are part of the conversations today. Two, if you have comments or questions, please include them in the feed as well. We can go back and ensure we address all of the questions and the concerns and even the comments. And then finally, share the video. This will allow the people missing in action to catch up on the replay. So thank you, and again, welcome. So at this time, I would like to bring out my friend, Dr. Phineas Canethia. So if you just give me a second,
Thank you
Dr.
so much. So much. You gotta qualify that I was born 2.6. Everybody looking like, where's that 2.6 pound friend?
And I figure if I put it out there, you'll elaborate. Because that is an amazing story to me. It's just so amazing.
Yeah. Glad to be joining you and excited to be with my team on today as we engage on this advancing dialogue through conversation just in the Congress of Global Communication is for us to really begin to tackle some of these major, you know, humanitarian issues that we're all facing, and so just excited to do that. And thank you again, under your leadership, Dr. Sonia, for the amazing work you've done. I was just thinking about today, just the diversity in the entire organization, and just amazing how we have leaders from around the globe, everywhere in different countries. And so, no, we are so inspired and so encouraged to be part of this journey with you and part of this process of really just adding on our perspective to an already existing dialogue.
Yes, yes. And that's what makes it so wonderful is because you have all these different people. And then when you deal with diversity and inclusion and all this with different people, you get a broader perspective, and you get
Yes.
more ideas. So it's not like, oh, well, this is just my idea. Let me hear from somebody over here that, that's basically going through the same thing. But we tend to think that when we go through things, it's just us and it's not like the world that's doing it. So that's what makes this so phenomenal to me. But so let me stop so you can finish with your team. I'm sorry.
No, actually, just like I said, I'm looking forward, and we've been working intently and extensively to make sure that this climate action team comes together. We've had some challenges, but I'm so inspired and so excited just to be having the team that we currently have as we take this responsibility to really begin to continue this dialogue that is already existing, but providing our perspective on the dialogue as pertaining to climate action. And so we're looking forward to have the entire team here shortly, and maybe we can just go ahead and bring them up.
Okay. Okay. So go ahead, Dr. Phineas.
All right. So, welcome, guys. We are so excited, and this is going to be just an exciting time to be joining with you. I want to go ahead and just start with Pastor Gary. Pastor Gary, we are so thankful and excited to be working together. We started this process together, and it's been exciting to see how everything is unfolding. And Pastor Gary is a co-founder of REDO or AfriSmart Global Tech Conferences. He's also the founder of Kingdom Bridges Incorporated, and he's a VP of Centric Core, a co-founder of and pastor of Calling Down Heaven Ministries, and just excited to be working together in this assignment that we have of climate action. He's been one of the core founding team. We've weathered the storms together, and I'm so excited that we get to do this together, being joined by two other amazing, phenomenal team. And so I will allow Pastor Gary to introduce himself, say a little bit about himself, and go ahead and bring Dr. Jackie or Dr. Alex.
Well, good afternoon, all. I'm so happy to be back on the scene. And Dr. Fitness, I think you said quite a handful. I'm just a regular old guy who loves the Lord and loves his people and just want to do good in the world. So that's this basically who I am. But as team leader, I am very excited that on this journey, this amazing journey that we've been on, Dr. Sonia and Dr. Phineas, it's been a roller coaster ride, But I tell you what, we have settled with an amazing team of people. I'm
Yeah.
excited about it all over again, as if we just started. And, so I'm not going to take up too much time and talk about myself. I want to introduce to you all and to the world my teammates, Dr. Alexander and Dr. Jacqueline, and they will share with you about themselves, who they are, and then we'll get into this wonderful time of meeting.
Kaki, do you want to go?
No, go ahead.
Okay, thank you for giving me the opportunity today. I'm very privileged and very happy to be here. About me, originally, I'm from Ghana, and I've been living in the USA for the past over 20 years. My background is in chemical engineering, which I have a PhD, and also I've been involved in technical roles, management roles, and business experiences. Currently, I'm involved in over 30 patents. I'm being moderate. The last time I checked, I was on 100 patents anyway, but I normally say over 30. So I'm also involved in two book chapters in the field of membrane science and technology, and I've a lot of books also in the area and technical papers. Currently, I'm known for my contribution in the science and membrane technology field. Among my specialization, I'm involved with technology operations, value chain management, intellectual property, law and policy, business strategy, global energy business, marketing mix implementation, many more, water, and then membranes, as I mentioned. I'm a distinguished patent and innovation fellow, and I'm passionate about leading teams, forming teams, and then working with people based on data and result-driven information. Thank you.
Hey, Dr. Alex, weren't you just recently provided with an award?
Yes, I was invited to Washington, D.C., and I was awarded for, based on one of my books that I wrote, coming out to explain some of the principles in the science and membrane technology field. So I was awarded for that purpose. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Yes, congratulations indeed.
Thank you.
Very decorated.
And I didn't hear the word inventor in there either.
You said what now?
I didn't hear you mention the word two word an inventor.
I said patent. So definitely. I didn't want to. I don't want to say so many things. I'm also the president of. I'm the president of several organizations. One of them is called I2I Mega Hub, which is helping Africans take their ideas to make global impact. If you Google my name, you will see many more. But I just want to make it simple for today.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Dr.
welcome.
Jacqueline.
Thank you for the opportunity to join this panel discussion. I'm very honored and grateful to be given the opportunity to communicate and bring awareness on critical topics that impact humanity in general. Again, my name is Dr. Jackie Anim. I'm an industry leader and a subject expert in the area of material selection and utilization for manufacturing, an advocate for proper material use and environmental conscious manufacturing, as well as material end of life management, how we dispose of materials after we've used it. My background is chemical engineering, a university instructor with numerous awards in many diverse areas that improves human life. And finally, I am a founder and the president of a non-governmental organization called Smiling Hope Ministry, with strong intent and mission to give back to the community as well as the desolate in our society. And therefore, I'm very pleased, extremely pleased to be part of this organization. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Now,
you.
Thank you, Dr. Chaplin.
I have a question for you too, Dr. Jackson, before I go too far. Because I think I saw something on there. Do you deal with young girls?
Yes, yes, I do. The organization deals with young girls and children that are socio-economically strapped. So I am a philanthropist as well.
All
So,
right.
and I wanted to bring that out because, as we have younger kids or younger adults starting to watch the show, and we're going to be reaching out, I want them to know. I mean, look where you are. If you can get there, they can get there as well. So I'm holding you up as a role model and a
Originally
mentor.
from Ghana.
So thank you, thank you, thank you. Dr. Pastor Gary, were you going to say something before I so rudely interrupted?
No, I don't think so, unless you're picking my brain.
Okay. So now that we've completed the introductions, and I mean, if you just paid attention to the credentials that everybody was, that they were sharing with you, you know that this is a powerful panel here. And then I just ask that you pay attention to each one of the groups as they present, present themselves, and you'll find that each one of them are passionate about what they're doing. And we do not have any weak people within this team at all whatsoever. We have strong people from around the world that we're putting here just to share with you what's going on in the world. So again, that's informing you, so you can make a decision that you have all the information that you need. So again, thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Dr. Phineas, for being here with me for two shows.
Yeah.
And we're going to go ahead and get started. And I just want to have some discussion about what is the importance of climate change, global climate change. Because you have some people saying that it's not real. You have some people saying it's real. We have some people, like walking down the line. So just tell me, what is the importance of global climate change?
Well, we can start first by looking at what we are talking about when we discuss what's climate change, and that's basically looking at the long term change in average weather patterns that define different local, that actually end up impacting local, regional, and global climates. So when we look at weather in general, we look at different and we look at different regions climatically that are currently affected by this. It's There's no doubt whatsoever uh, that this climate change is causing the shift that's happening, and that shift in the environment could be natural, it could be due to just human activity. And so we as a team are coming together to begin to create and to advance a dialogue on the fact that yes, there is a deterioration of the climate that is happening and is primarily influenced by the decisions that we make as humans. And so, not ignoring it doesn't make it all, negating it doesn't make it go away. The consequences are still there, and we can see it in regional places. I'm currently working with several organizations, and one of the organizations that I work with is a nonprofit. We are doing some work in Pakistan, and Pastor Gary, also I saw you also work doing some work in Pakistan. And recently, due to the monsoon rains, they were impacted, and most of a third of the entire Pakistan country was underwater, and that's just basically due to climate change. And so what we are saying is, whereas people can say it's a hoax, others can say, oh, it doesn't exist, there's a consequence of decisions that as humans that we're making that is actually ultimately impacting humanity, whether it's through global warming and different causes and effects that have come from the decisions we make. There's definitely an impact on the climate. And so, as a team, as a global Congress of Communication, we want to advance dialogue around sustainable goals. And we are dealing with this sustainable goal of climate action and saying, how can we, as a people, make decisions and begin to create awareness? And not only awareness, but how can we also utilize our information that we know to begin to let people know this is not a hoax, it's real and it's happening, it's impacting, it's creating food shortages, it's creating. So how are we able to make a difference? How can we start this dialogue? And so that's why it's important, because it's not just affecting one region, it's affecting the entire world. So think about when we talk about areas like food shortages. So because of the climate changes and creating food shortages, that is also impacting, economically, it's impacting other regions. So for instance, places where they're having droughts, then their food access to food and resources is an issue. So when we talk climate change, it's not just about the weather, but we're talking about the residual impact that is created through climate change.
Anyone have anything to add?
I would just add to that, and that was very well put. Thank you, Dr. Phineas. You mentioned the issue of the types of storms and the flooding that's been caused by these storms. You mentioned Pakistan, but what I've noticed just in the past week, this month of October, as a matter of fact, globally there has been storms that have brought flooding that we have not seen.
Yes.
I mean, I just saw the same thing in Mexico, China, just about all over the entire globe. This is taking place, and as you said, it's not a hoax. It's something that's real. It's just a part of the scheme of nature, you know, because of many things that have taken place over time throughout the globe, and so it's a blessing to be a part of this panel to where we can take a closer look at this to see how it is that we might be able to aid in the recovery and protection of our climate, our world.
Yes, yes. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the first question, and feel free to just jump in and answer. What are some preventative measures that can be implemented to protect against climate change? Are there any?
Yeah, Dr. Sayan, that's a very good question. And from my perspective, this particular situation or issue is not limited to a particular region. It's global. And therefore, the preventive measures will be very diverse. Uh, for example, we have to start putting a price tag on carbon by cutting emission, which will start with a clear regional policy signal. We need a policy. And some of the policies could be North America driven, it could be Asia Pacific, it could be Africa bound. We need to end fossil fuel subsidies, because currently there are some subsidies that goes into this fuel channels, as well as build low carbon resilient cities, since some of these cities are very old and they are due for an upgrade anyway. And so we may be able to take advantage or the opportunity to replace these cities with carbon-free alternatives. Increase energy efficiency and use of renewable energy sources is something that I will highly recommend. Implementation of climate smart agricultural techniques, and the nurturing of the forest landscape, planting of trees. I know from my uh, country of origin, we don't do a very good job planting trees, even grass. After putting up a private house, highly would you see anyone planting grass. But that is a very viable way of decarbonizing the environment. And therefore, for example, during road constructions, um, and even parks, we can take advantage and build some trees and give some incentives. Tree for money or tree for some type of incentive will kick start that type of initiative. Vegetations, and then putting some solid regulations out there for vegetation preservation can influence the climate blueprint substantially. And also, in general, or maybe in conclusion, I can say that the use of best science, modern technology, and regional policy can help us outpace the climate change situation in which we are right now.
Hmm. So a question for you, because you did mention the trees, and I noticed here in the U.S. we don't do very well with trees. We don't have a problem with cutting down trees and having an open field and just letting them sit. But if you go over to different countries, they cherish their trees. They'll bring things in. I was in Nairobi in July, and so one of the things that was occurring, because I did a safari where we stayed in this tent, and everything was heated by wood. So, and this was working with Dr. Shaw, having conversations with Dr. Shaw. They actually had brought in a company from Sweden to have a conversation about instituting solar panels and whatnot to heat the water, to burn, to get away from burning wood, to preserve the trees.
Mhm.
And I don't think people here in the United States understand what the time constraint is. If I plant a tree today, how long is it going to be before that tree has reached maturity?
Yeah, the and again, everything is in relative terms. And
Hmm.
I have had the opportunity to travel back to Ghana, and I do reside in the United States. And if I should compare the two, I'll say United States does a very great job when it comes to tree planting. The highways have trees all along, and there's grass everywhere compared to Ghana, where
Hmm.
everyone is into putting tile. So the whole compound is tiled up to the curbside. So the place gets really hot, and there's no relief when it comes to getting natural air or trees.
Hmm.
But having said that, we can do better. We can put some legislations in our policy to enhance the planting of additional trees.
Hmm.
Uh, we get some tax breaks, depending upon the number of trees on your yard. You get some tax breaks. So those type of measures can help kickstart the improvements that is required.
Okay. But do you know how long it takes a tree to grow to full maturity? Does anyone know?
It
Um,
depends upon the
Depends.
species, though. So, like the Odum tree can take 100 years to get to maturity. There are these Canadian maple trees that can take 8 years or 6 years. So it's very dependent upon the
Okay.
species.
Some
Okay.
cocoa can take 3 years. So it depends. I mean, you only have to cover the land
Okay.
because carbon dioxide could be absorbed by the trees, grasses. So you need something green, to absorb that.
Okay. Because I guess my point there is, we sit here and cut these trees down, like, and in some cases you can use trees for oxygen, all these different things. But with us cutting so many trees, it's not allowing the necessity, our health and our lives and our livelihood. It's not causing, I'm looking for the right word that I want to say, what we're trying to accomplish with climate change. It's not allowing us to live the life that we need to, or to flourish, if we're constantly cutting down trees. And I just think that maybe, and it gets back to what you were saying about putting incentives on the trees that we're growing, putting in policies and procedures where, we need to have so many trees within a certain span, or whatever it is that we need to do. But we need to cut down less trees and come up with different solutions in order to move the world forward. I guess that's what I was trying to get
Yes.
to. Yes.
Another thing I can add to this is it's not just tree, it's the
Hmm.
type of trees. Different trees have different taproots and how they go down. And then some trees can also be used for phytoremediation, meaning that they can treat the soil itself by taking pollutant out. Some of them can also treat the air, and some of them can also treat water. So the different kinds of trees goes a long way. So apart from absorbing carbon dioxide and giving us oxygen, trees can do that much. Another thing I can add to this is we've said something. We said people think this is a hoax, right? It's because maybe they haven't gotten the awareness well, or things are not broken down for them to understand very well. They haven't gotten the right education, right? And even if there are policies, there are little enforcement, such a way that they don't even see it really well. I'm happy we are getting together today and we are talking about it. And then I think the education will come as we go along. Thank you.
Yes.
And one other point I wanted to make here is that a lot of people, for example, the Pakistan situation, a third of the country is currently underwater. Very few people have heard about it. So I think moving forward, we can enhance our communication by assembling a lot of these cases in the form of a video. So we get all these cases, we line them up as a video and showcase that. And that will hit home. Because if you see what had happened in India recently, in Nigeria, in Ghana, there is no doubt, because this is
Yes.
the first time these areas are seeing the monsoon rain causing so much of a damage to society. So
True.
maybe some type of pictorial communication needs to be adapted, since no one wants to read anything anymore.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And another thing I'll add here is we should not also lose the fact that our communication will only be in English. If you look at the population of the world, most of them are in what, China, India, Indonesia, and those areas. So at some point, we may have to find a way to convert whatever we talk in English to other languages, such a way that, some key languages so people can read. And as Jackie said, pictorially, it goes a long way. And then we say a picture says 1,000 words. So how much more video? A video is going to say a million words, right? So if we compile it in the form of video, that will go a long way. We find the right people to also write in different languages and add it. Then that will go a long way. Thank you.
Yes. Anything from the two of you at the top?
Well,
We are very
I would just say that what both of them had to say are excellent suggestions to what we can possibly do to bring more attention to what's happening globally, because people are not aware, and the society as it is today, everything is pictorial. People believe what they see.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can create a medium that's going to present this to them, perhaps it will stimulate their thought process to want to know more about it. And then this is where the educational programs can come into effect.
Yes. Dr. Finish, you're okay?
Yes, I'm good. I will actually want to highlight the fact that I like what Dr. Alex is saying, because it's not just the trees, but what kind of trees are being planted. But also the way Dr. Jackie is also highlighting the fact that in creating awareness, we have to find different vehicles, because again, what people are conditioned, and there's conditioning that happens when people keep hearing what you continually hear, you eventually believe as your truth. So if people continually hear this is a hoax, nothing is happening, so they just believe that's just a hoax. But when we creating awareness, and I think that's one of the things that as a team we can adopt as a tool in really finding resources, regional resources within different areas or geographical areas around the world to highlight how climate change has actually impacted the world. So in so doing, actually, like Dr. Alex was saying, that being the picture being worth a thousand words is really seeing and people, and then starting the dialogue with, now that you see this, what do you think has actually caused this? So while we are working, we're not proponent of fixing and solving all the issues around the world. But what we want to do is to start saying, hey, there's a problem and humans are part of this problem. And here are some of the ways that we're creating this problem. And then go about dialogue around the around the agenda. So I definitely agree with what both have said.
Yes, and I like that idea about the video clips. So it's almost like your other team where they're putting out the daily Monday through Friday wisdom of words. This is an opportunity for your team to come up with the little video clips that we could put out there Monday through Friday, just to make everyone aware of what's going on around the world. So
Right.
I think that is a great idea. Thank
Absolutely.
you, thank you. So how do we go about protecting the ecological system with the threat of increasing climate change?
There are several avenues. One is minimizing the harvesting of fossil fuel from the ground. There's just a lot. And investment in renewable energy is also another avenue. Switching to sustainable transportation. For example, we can start the use of electric vehicles. I think is it Poland or some of these Scandinavia countries currently using electric vehicles. And I think over 99% of the population has switched over. Also, the use of trains for transportation. You can pack a lot on a train versus individual vehicles. The protection of the forest reserve is also very critical, extremely critical, like the Amazon and recreational places. Um, since the ecological system, the ecosystem is also being impacted with our behavior. And once we deplete the ecosystem, humanity will be really, really impacted. So we need to be very, very cognizant the total picture. It's not just the climate; it's the animals that are being impacted. The ecosystem is being really, really influenced.
Mhm.
Planting of trees, we talked a little bit about that. Discontinuation of destructive mining practices. And this is in the African region. There's gold rush, and majority of the water bodies are being destroyed. Majority of the farms are being destroyed.
Mhm.
Acres of cocoa plantation, for example, in Ghana, is being converted for illegal mining activity, and the long-term implications of this behavior is going to be uh, unbearable
Detrimental. Yes.
to humanity. Um, so restoration of nature. Nature is designed to absorb whatever carbon monoxide is being let out, as well as minimizing the carbon footprints for environmental heat reduction perspective. Currently, it's really hot. You go to some of these other places, and it's really, really hot. Everyone is using air condition because there's no trees at all. And the restoration of nature will balance things out. It will give us this coziness that we're currently lacking. improve farming. There's a lot of chemical use for farming in Africa. I have a farm in Ghana, and they instead of them weeding, they spray chemical, and the food is not edible. The cassava is not edible. It looks different once chemicals are utilized. So there's this behavior that needs adjustment. Excuse me. And also, we need to sit back and look at the long-term implication. So these are some of the things that we can do. We can plant more. We can plant what we eat. We can eat more veggie type of diet, which will force us to plant more, and it should protect the ecological system as we see today.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I would like to add something small. I will first define what an ecosystem is, which means ecosystem consists of organisms and the physical environment with which they interact. So we have to maintain the ecosystem, and then without maintaining the ecosystem, our own life is being challenged. I'll give an example. We know that whales communicate by echolocation. With the current global climate change, you heard about the whales beaching on the sea, on the shore. You know, currently there was a situation in Tasmania, Australia, where 230 whales came out of the sea and they were at the shore. And I think a number of them died, you know, and that was also due to man's activity. So there are new chemicals also getting into the ecosystem, which is killing this microorganism, and some of them are accumulating in the little organisms and then animals that we consume them in the food network. So it's also going to affect us and creating imbalance. So in my view, the protection, we already talked about it, but I wanted to share something more. As I mentioned, planting specialized trees, right, would deal with the situation because the pollutant in which they are in the environment, some of them, you can't even measure them, you can't even detect them, but they are there. But trees have the power to absorb them from the soil and to break them down for us. The same tree that we are talking about, they can also absorb pollutant from the air because when there's any pollutant in the environment, especially in Ghana, when it comes to the gold thing they are working on, you have those chemicals kind of partition itself in the water, in the air, and then in the soil. And some find their way through the groundwater. So some of these chemicals also go a long way to kill them. Some of the microbes cannot persist in that condition. So it's up to us to treat that area very well. And then we did this. I was involved in this research, whereby looking into processing of the gold itself using green chemicals which can decompose in the environment. So in that case, we were looking into specialized plants that can deal with the different levels of soils and also groundwater to be able to extract all those into the plant, and then we cut the plant and then ash them and then hold them in matrices. There were special plants also that dealt with the air, purifying the air, and another plant also dealing with the soil itself. And you know, the root of the trees also becomes a place whereby the bacteria can also have themselves there to be able to feed on the pollutant. So that could be a way to look into that by looking into specialized tree. One of them is called poplar plant that can help us to do this. We can also, Jackie already said this, we can isolate some key areas as sanctuaries so the way that people don't go in. I remember when I was a kid, they would say that every Tuesday, don't go to sea. Every Wednesday, don't go to the farm. Every whatever, don't go, so that way that there was no disturbances here and there. But today, those things are all out of the window. People are doing anything they want. Also, our life depends on water. And now different pollutants are finding themselves into water. What can we do to our water bodies and the catchment areas? We have to plant also special trees and be aware of that. And also, Jackie already said this, promoting a greener way of doing things. How can we go back to the past and see that we apply that to also save us? And also lowering overconsumption. The more we consume, the more we deplete, and the more we affect the environment. So, I mean, there's a little I'll add to this. Thank you.
That was good. That was good.
That's good.
The two at the top.
I'm relying on the expertise of Dr. Alex and Dr.
Yeah,
Jim.
the experts have covered it well.
I told you they've come in and revolutionized the team by letting
Yeah.
us by creating awareness. But absolutely agree with both of them.
I have a question because I'm here in Texas. So what I've seen a lot of is, like the plastic bottles out on the road. It's like, is there something that could be done? I mean, like when we were doing before the plastic came out, when we were doing glass. I mean, then you had to worry about the glass getting broken. But with the plastic, it's like they're just there. It's just there. And you see like the homeless people going around picking it up. I don't know. I don't think there's a fee on bottle returns here. Like in Michigan, they give you 10 cents for every bottle that you bring in. I don't know if that's the way it is around the United States or if that's just in Michigan. But
It's in
what
California as well.
is it?
Yeah.
What can we do as far as plastic being around? I mean, because again, that's hurting the environment as well. What can we do about plastic, if anything?
Yeah, there is a lot of initiatives that is going on, and I'm particularly part of some of them. One of them was the end of use management that I spoke about during my introduction.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at how to manage the full life cycle of plastic within our lives, as well as the environmental impact. There's also another group looking at sustainable plastic or biodegradable plastic that has the ability to degrade within a very few short of, let's say within
Nice
to
fun.
5 years, then degradation is complete. So we're looking at those, and those are plant-based plastics and also some other artificially created, you know, bio-based type of chemistries. So again, these are all very new. We're not there yet, but eventually the plan is to proliferate our stores and also our product lines with these biodegradable and also environmental sustainable plastics. In addition to that, there are some behaviors that we're encouraging people to recycle more, to opt for paper if that's an option. If you can carry your product in a different way, we're encouraging the community to look at alternative packaging techniques. So these are some of the initiatives that is out there today that I would like to add.
Mm. Yeah, Dr. Phineas, I think I'm with you and Pastor Gary. Now I'm gonna sit here and let them go.
Well, yeah,
Let them go.
I also
they,
saw some people pick the plastic and then produce lube, petroleum product from that. But when I look at the energy requirement, I don't think it was very sustainable. Jackie, what do you think about that?
Yes, so there are an avenue where you can select the plastic and use it in a lower tier product. For example, if it's a medical plastic, you cannot recycle it back into medical, but you can recycle it into a park where you fill the ground with plastic chips. So that is currently highly recommended, where you recycle into a lower tier. There is also an avenue where you let down slowly. So instead of putting the recycle into a product 100%, you can let it down slowly. You add plastic with wooden chips, so then it's not 100% plastic. So there's different techniques to absorb the plastic that is in the environment. I also saw something on TV where it's an organization, it's a nonprofit organization harnessing or harvesting plastic from the ocean and using it for bracelets and using it for shoe and some type of recreational product. So people are looking at it, except that it's not universal, and but we need to bring this awareness to kick things to get it to other regions. I'm always worried about other regions that they're not doing a whole lot, or they're not on board. But yeah, these initiatives can be carried over to other regions for adaptation.
Mm.
And another thing I also realized is some of the plastics you cannot do much with them. Some of them cannot be recycled. It's just a few of them that can be recycled. Maybe those ones which cannot be recycled, it can be pelletized and used as a pozzolana. Pozzolana is just when you are building and creating your concrete, right? You can mix it with it and a little bit with this as a filler to help you, I mean, reduce the amount of money you use on other materials too. That could be another way too.
Mm.
Yes,
You
so
know
there are
what?
some plastics that cannot be recycled. The
Right.
hospital used plastic, for example, are very difficult to recycle because of the bioburden. And in those cases, they go through incineration for disposal because you do not want to recycle any bio
Hazard.
active, you know, ingredient that will, you know, cause something else. So the disposal of those type of uh, you know, remnants is critical, and there's a lot of cleaning and safe handling that goes on if it's gone through some hospital use. There's also the thermosets that are very difficult to regrind and remelt, and therefore those can be used as concrete feed,
Yes.
or even benches. It can be used as feed for benches as well.
Mm. Okay.
You know, much of what's been spoken of here again goes back to something you said earlier, Dr. Jackie, and that's regarding policies. There's definitely going to be a great need for new policies to be implemented.
Mhm.
For example, as it relates to the agro world, the farming and such, there are a number of technologies available now that are organic technologies to where there is absolutely no need to use chemicals when it comes to farming, as far as fertilizers, pest control, and things of that nature. There's a lot of new technologies out there. I'm actually working with some myself. And so, but it's going to require policy changes in order to be able to implement those things. Another thing regarding the plastics, biodegradable plastics. I don't know if you all recall Sonia and Phineas, my talking about the um, the one plant that we were looking at that
Cassava.
The Kenneth?
the Connect plant. It's the fibers from the Connect plant can actually be used to develop plastics. And that's one of the things that we're looking into as well. So there are some technological advances that are available now
Mm-hmm.
that will in time be implemented, but of course, policy change is going to be a very critical aspect of all of that.
Mhm.
Mm. Okay.
It's awesome.
Um, Anything, Dr. Phineas?
No.
So, I mean, like these are some great ideas that's being discussed, and I can hardly wait to see the full presentation once you guys are done with it because you're talking about things that I never would have thought of, and it's not like I go and study, just climate control. I mean, climate change up until this point was not something that I was very familiar with. So, I go in and I look every now and then. It's like when I was trying to come up with questions, it's like, well, let me see, let me study a little bit more. So I'll look at halfway intelligent, as I ask these questions. But it's like listening to you talk about these ideas, these suggestions, these things that can improve it. It's like, wow.
And this is why this platform is very important, because a lot of times it's not that people don't want to know, is it just they're just unaware.
Yeah.
They're unconsciously unaware. And so creating dialogue around it and then offering people, because sometimes when you study climate action, it's such a broad topic that, and it's not as exciting where somebody's, unless you're really working in the industry, you're not going to just go and look for that information. So that's why our ability to communicate a complex issue in a simple way, not simplistic, but in a simple way, will help people become more aware. Just hearing Dr. Alex and Dr. Jackie give the high point of the potential solutions. Imagine if three-quarter of the world would just have the basic of the potential solution, even though they don't know how to execute. I think in a way it begins to move the dialogue to where we are finding solution. But I think this becomes such a mammoth that people look at the whole topic and they're like, I can't do anything about it. So that's not my problem. I'll leave that to the scientists. But then eventually we're all being impacted by the same situation. So I do appreciate and I want to acknowledge all our team members, for the amazing work that you're doing in helping us find concise way of communicating a very complex issue and creating awareness. So whether it's going to be through the videos, whether it's going to be through blogs, but really in a very simple way, bring the awareness in a way that we help people advance dialogue towards finding solution, not just saying there's a problem and this is the consequences, but what are some of the temporary solutions? Maybe that means changing how we do business. Maybe that means who we work with. As consumers, you might not be, let's say, able to cut down the fossil fuels emission, but what about working with companies that's all they stand for, or that are cutting emissions by, let's say, 20%, and you're saying that's who I'm going to buy from, that's who I'm going to do business with, and that way advancing the goal at the same time. So yeah, so really just thank you for the team, for your leadership on that.
Yes.
Dr. Phineas, thank you for saying what you said, because, a year ago, and Sonia, your word, that's a year ago, I was one of those who was unaware. Okay. And my awareness has come a long way since that time, and actually, as I said, I've been working in the midst of some developments, unaware that it was even linked to climate change. And so now that I have made the connection, it's just broadened, really broadened my educational base. And now that I have these two superstars on my team, I can only see it just advancing further and further. So thank you very much, all of you.
Yes. Yes. I'm going to keep it moving because I don't want to tie up your day.
Mhm.
Identify how you would present a project proposal that you are passionate about to your peers. So
Mhm.
with that, where I'm going is that we said that once we get these presentations to where we want them to be, and we're not going to focus on climate change and it's in the broad sense. We're not going to focus on everything. We're going to just narrow it down and just do what we can do. So if it's 3 points we hit, that's what we're going to hit. But then we're going to go the next step, where we're going to just have dialogue with different people around the world to share with them, what we know and what we think we can, assist with, as far as if we can get this out to the world, this is what's going to happen. How would you go about presenting that proposal?
I mean, first, we may have to state the problem statement, or what problem are we trying to solve, with good understanding, because we mentioned there are people who are skeptic about this. So you want to also win them on our side. And the problem of global solving issues with global change is not one person, as Jackie said, it's all of us. So if there are so many people sitting on the fence, that might not work in our favor. We want all hands on deck. So first, we have to state the problem statement with understanding. We have to also show some evidence, like in the video that we are talking about. And even when you show some evidence, some skeptics will say that it's only one time. So we have to show trends, right? We've seen this over some time. It didn't used to exist, so this is a trend. And then we have to explain why what we are trying to do is important, and then provide some possible underlying principles to get people who believe that this is not whatever it is to also look at the principles that is true in a way, which I can do that. And also, some of the examples that I mentioned, we already talked about that. We can show the bleaching of the whales, which have been happening for some time now, and now you see the number is going up and up. We can also explain what happened with the Pakistan flooding, which we saw loss of lives. A lot of people lost their property, so many things in there. And the current, even the Florida hurricane, it was mentioned this has never happened before. And what the situation can you see the sharks on the road and the crocodiles or alligators also on the road, all the mix. And look at the impacts of the destruction. And then look at the serious drought at places that it didn't used to exist. Also, we have to identify who is our key stakeholders and then determine how to manage them. Because anything that you are trying to do, they are stakeholders. If you don't identify the key stakeholders and manage them, you might not be able to make, a headway. Because we need them to help us to do what we're supposed to do. We need to list the pros and the cons to let people see through that. And then there's something called cost-benefit analysis. Because we have to list the intangibles and convert the intangibles into tangibles. Because if you tell me that I should put money into solving something that I'm not going to get my investment back, I will not, some people will not see it that way. So you have to list it in such a way that if I put my investment into it, this is how I'm going to get my investment back in a way, such a way that our solutions should be such a way that it should drive people to put their money in to save all of us. Another thing is we have to determine what are the key factors that will aid in the propagation and adoption of any recommendation or solution that we have. And I think education, awareness, the technology that we are going to apply, the policies and expected results and deliverables are very important in this case to convince who my peers are to understand what is going on. Then what steps am I going to take to come out with my solution? That's my methodology. I have to share with them. And also, before I do anything, there's something called prototyping. I have to test my solution or my idea on a small scale and then see how it works before I roll out on the larger scale whilst considering all factors and stakeholders to get this to happen. So this is how I'll go about with this, in my view. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good, very good. You see, for me, my perspective or take would be a little bit different. When we talk about presentation of proposals to our peers, we have to then look at, okay, who are our peers? And for me, right now, my peers would be governments and business people who are in the space of interest. And as far as my personal passion right now is food and water. That is the most essential thing for humanity right now that needs to be given attention, food and water. And fortunately, I am already involved in some developments. And so as far as presenting proposals, I wear that passion like a garment. It's just part of my conversation on a day-to-day basis. And so it's just a matter of, and again, as Dr. Alice was saying, we have to be able to give an example. Well, that is something that is in place as well. So I'm simply at a point to where I can pitch a proposal for interest to my peers and say, okay, let's schedule a meeting for real-time review of what this product is and what this product can do to help be a solution to the problems that we're having with food and water globally. And so that's kind of how I would approach it based on where I am right now.
Yeah,
and
the
Pastor
other
Gary,
thing
okay,
I was going to say,
one quick addition. Pastor Gary, what I talked about was just a format which can be
No,
applied.
I understand. I understand.
yeah, what I was going to add is that I think currently there's been a lot of discussion, even from a president perspective. And however, we don't have a target in terms of what is the targeted carbon footprint and what is the timeline. So assuming there's a legislation or a policy that says that we pledge by 2028 A, B, and C, then everyone will be all hands on deck. Because currently we don't have a target yet. Additionally, the problem that we're trying to solve is fund driven. A lot of countries don't have the resources, they don't have the understanding, they don't have the money to start planting trees. And therefore, the source of the money needs to be addressed. There are countries that are willing, but they just don't have the resources. So that is item number 2. Item number 3 is we need to kickstart supply chain. What do I mean by supply chain kickstart? For example, if there's a plastic and I want to reuse it, I need a pelletizer. I need it to be pelletized into little pieces and bag, like a bag of cement, to use in a different product. But who is going to pelletize it for me? Currently, there's none in the system. We don't have a pelletizer that you can buy. So if I want to recycle my plastic, I'm handicapped. So the supply chain needs to be established, and the companies needs to come on board to develop these type of secondary operations to allow the individual or my peer who wants to participate to have an avenue to proceed forward. Now, in terms of communication, we've touched on a few of them. One of them is virtual communication, like we're doing today, that gives people around the world opportunity to hear what we had to say. We can also adapt the use of seminar and go places and do a big seminar or blitz video, as we had indicated, and even TikTok. You do a 2-minute communication around climate change. It will go very far. The LinkedIn is also an avenue where we can communicate with our peers. They are all on LinkedIn. They are all on Twitter. I have a video on Twitter and have people to comment on it. And I know most of the presidents are on Twitter, and they will see that. So those are some of the avenue we got to use the system, the electronic and artificial intelligence system that is currently available to do this communication. And if we don't get on board, because that's where our audience are, our peers are on Twitter and all these other places. And so my recommendation is that's where we need to be.
Very good recommendation.
So that's going to lead us into the last question about what action does your team plan to take to bring about global awareness to this issue? And Jackie just gave us a very good start on that. Let us right in.
Our team is just to create an awareness and provide recommendation on global change. So what we may have to consider is the demographics, which breaks into age, income levels, educational level, marital status, race, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, religion, and all that we can talk about. That gives us an addition that we should be able to put people into buckets and then tailor our information to reach them. So how do we get to them? Jackie has already said this already, So we may have to use TV, radio, all the social media information that we can, the blogs, publication, magazines, and everything that we can reach them. So with that said, we can also focus on people, organization, which have a lot of people under them, such a way that if you target one, you get a lot. So places like media houses, policymakers, organizations, and people with knowledge base could be areas that we can also target such a way that they can also spread the word for us. So that's all I have for today. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay.
And I forgot to mention about the frequency. The frequency, we can make it as many as possible, because different people look at things differently, and our style of reaching people, we can use words, we can use pictures, anything we can that it can engage people. So we have to look at the various audience and tailor our information to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jackie, real quick, you had something else to say. Dr. Phineas needs to rush off.
Yes. I was going to say that our team plan to, we do have a timeline to follow, and we intend to pull ahead the video creation. We will do the video that showcases some of the impact that we've seen recently. Additionally, we will reach out and look for additional collaborators who will help us, even if it's churches, and communicate with some other organizations that are currently working towards climate change, decarbonization. We would like to team up with them and not work in a silo. And hopefully we will be able to bring a global awareness to this critical situation.
That's good.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Did either one of you at the top have anything to add? If not, I'm just going to ask Pastor Gary. I'm going to give you an opportunity to go ahead and pray us out because Dr. Phineas needs to leave for another meeting. So keep it short.
Yeah, well, not to go into anything in depth, but everything that we're all talking about together, to sum that up, what we're going to be developing, one of the things we're going to be developing is something that was developed, or a concept that was created by Buckery and I early on, one of our previous team members, that we termed SECO. And it's just simply putting all of those pieces together to where we're dealing with social, environmental, economic, climate, and occupational systems and concepts to educate the people at large on what is happening and what we can do to bring about change. So in a nutshell, that's what we will be looking at, is to implement the SECO systems program. And with that, I would say that I think we are finished. And if there's nothing else, I will go ahead and pray us out so that our dear friend and brother can get to the next line of business at hand.
Dr. Phineas, did you have anything to add?
I just want to say thank you, team. Amazing work we've put together. And this is, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and we will continue to find solutions and fine tune. Definitely amazing, very solid feedback, not only in terms of solutions, but also in terms of awareness over the scope and potential solutions. So I do want to acknowledge each one of you, Dr. Alex, Dr. Jacqueline. Thank you for putting in the effort and the time to make sure that you're helping us advance, even intellectually having the capacity to and the wherewith to be able to understand the whole the scientific part of what we don't see or what we don't know. So we want to I just personally want to thank you for that. Pastor Gary, thank you for your leadership in the team as we are moving forward, our ability to communicate, and now it's just a matter of us putting a framework and beginning to find those solutions. I'm excited that we can start with something as simple as getting videos and showcasing the impact. Because I like Dr. Alex's idea that it's not just the audio learning. We want to give them the visual learning. We want to give them all these different avenues that this message will create awareness. So again, thank you all for that.
Thank you.
Real quick, let me just say thank you. I think this was an amazing job that you did here today. And to find two people of your caliber to put in this spot, it's like you made it seem easy. You made it seem so
Very
easy.
much so.
And so I just want to say thank you for that. And I think you did a wonderful job. I know a lot more than I did when I first started listening to you guys today. So now I understand why the two sit at the top, and just let you go. So again, thank you so much. Wonderful job. Wonderful. And it seemed, you have a clear direction, a clear path that you want to head in. And that's just amazing to me. It's just, you make it seem so simple.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, Pastor Gary, go ahead.
Yes, with that, I'll say, Dr. Alex and Dr. Jackie, you are officially welcome.
Thank you.
Praise God. Father, we thank you and praise you, Lord God, for this platform and this opportunity, Lord God, to have a meeting of the minds, Father, to look at and seriously discuss the matters at hand concerning climate change, Father God. Lord, we know this one thing, that you are the creator of climate, Father God. And so, Lord, we will diligently continue to seek you for the answers and insights and wisdom as to how we, together as a team, can pool resources and ideas and concepts that will bring about a better way of us taking care of this amazing planet that you've given us. So we thank you and praise you for it. Thank you for every individual that's here on this platform. And may you continue to bless us as we go our separate ways until we meet again. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
Okay, so Dr. Phineas, you can go ahead to make it to your next meeting. Again, I'm saying thank you to everyone, and I'm saying blessings to each one of you for getting us to where we are today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Blessings.
Have a good week.
Good day, all. Bye bye.